I made a ridiculously hard puzzle game, and here's what I'm doing about it. Okay, so to understand the problem, you first need to understand how the game works. The main gameplay loop for the game is this. You're presented a puzzle, something like this. You need to figure out the path from the start to the goal, tracking the player all the way to that light goal using these gaps in the wall. Then, you manipulate the level so that you can get there. To do this, you need to move the elevators and the cubes, called stoppers, into place so that the elevator will stop in the right place and let the player off, or pick them up, without hitting a wall. Things get more interesting when added twists like lasers, transports, locks, etc. are introduced, but this gives you an idea of gameplay. Now, the hardest part with controlling game difficulty comes in two ways. One is controlling how challenging the game is, and the other is teaching the player how to play the game. Both are a huge issue with my game, and here's why. Regarding issue 1, controlling the difficulty curve is obviously an issue for most games, but puzzle games are a special beast. The point of the game is to present problems to the player. So how can you ensure that the difficulty is curving upward? How do you ensure that the start is easy enough, but not too boring? How do you know that the middle isn't more difficult than the end? Well, the easy way is just to add more complexity. Just add more stuff, more things to contend with. Juggle more apples in the air. While that can work in small increments, it can feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again, just bigger. There's something enjoyable about learning something new, and also simple, and then taking that abstraction and applying what you've learned to something a lot more involved. So for the Valley of the Architects, I worked a balance of new concepts with advancing the concept to a more difficult problem. This way the player learns something new, then works out how to use that knowledge for a more difficult problem, balancing problem solving with learning something new. Now the truth is the only way to control this curve is playtesting. Puzzles I think are hard, majority of playtesters have no issues with. Things that are clearly simple to me can prove difficult. The clear problem is that a developer thinks through their game differently than a player. Playtesting was key to curating the difficulty curve for fresh eyes. But there was a much bigger problem evolving that even playtesters didn't catch. In fact, it was Steam Next Fest that brought this problem to the forefront, and it's a big issue. See, the second issue with managing difficulty is teaching the player how to play. With my first game, I learned the lesson of not playtesting enough after what I thought were minor changes but ended up being major. This time around, I've learned that playtesting isn't enough. New playtesters is the key. After a little while, playtesters get used to your game, and pretty soon you aren't getting feedback on how the game works, the controls, or the tutorial. They know your game, and they know how to play it. You're mostly getting bug reporting over anything else. By the time Next Fest came, the game was running well, but newcomers couldn't really figure out how to play. The issues lie with the tutorial. Because of the nature of the game, my initial thoughts were to show the player exactly what to do, and then the learning would happen when they watched the level play out. So I used on-screen prompts to show you exactly what to move and where. Once you drag the item to the correct place, it would lock and bingo. Problem is, in reality, players are in autopilot when you hold their hand this much. Instead of engaging their mind, this tutorial is disengaging it. They would quickly drag and move each item in fast succession and then press play. No thought of why they're doing what they're doing and how it affects the overall problem. So how do we fix this? Well, first, slow down the tutorial. Show one thing at a time. By not racing through the mechanics, players can take the time to figure out what's happening and why. Secondly, remove the screen prompts and let the player make a few mistakes. The levels are simple enough that it only takes a couple of tries to get right, but by not holding their hand, they're forced to learn. Lastly, I kept the text prompts, but ensured that they are short, just a couple of sentences. Too much text is boring and overwhelming, but having some text that can keep the player on track and then draw their attention to what they're learning. So there you have it. By simplifying the tutorial and giving players the benefit of the doubt, we allow them to teach themselves how to play instead of just showing them how and hoping it sticks. So far, the revised tutorial has been good, but time will tell if that all worked. Actually, you can tell as well. If you're interested, take a look at the demo and give it a try. Most of all, dropping a wish list would be awesome. Thanks again for watching. Peace out.